People think divorce destroys a woman. They have no idea it forges her. That's the part most men get wrong. Divorce doesn't break her. It burns away everything she carried just to keep the peace. It strips off the softness she gave too freely, the obedience she used to offer just to feel safe, the illusions she held on to because she loved too hard. And when the fire dies, what stands in the ashes is sharper, steadier, and far more aware than she ever meant to become. Men like to call that bitterness, but it isn't. It's clarity. It's a woman who studied betrayal the way a doctor studies disease, remembering every symptom she ignored. She stops asking anyone to love her. She watches instead, and that watching becomes her armor. Men feel the shift before they can explain it. They feel it in the quiet distance in her eyes, in the way she sees through every performance they once relied on. Calling her cold is easier for them than admitting they can't influence her anymore. But she's not cold. She's free, and a free woman becomes something most men never learned how to face. A mirror that reflects their truth without flattery or illusion. This isn't heartbreak, it's rebirth. And like every rebirth, it starts in silence. A silence that hardens into strength and leads her straight into the woman she was always meant to become. Number 1. When she rebuilds, she stops needing anyone to choose her. And here's where the story turns, brother. Because once that silence from part 1 settles inside her, once she realizes no one's coming to rescue her, something shifts in a way most men never see coming. Every man thinks he understands a woman until the day she no longer needs him. He walks around believing he knows what she wants, how she feels, what will keep her close. But when love collapses and the truth hits her with that cold weight in the chest, he realizes he never knew her at all. And the harder truth is this: she never really knew herself either, not the way she's about to. Divorce forces her to stand in front of an empty space where her old identity used to be. There's no script left, no role to hide inside, no story to keep her numb. Just 2 choices staring her down: fall apart or rebuild. Most fall first. The rare ones rise later. But when they rise with intention, like a woman who finally understands what her soul costs. What remains after divorce isn't ruin, it's revelation. She sees how much of her life was built around being chosen, being understood, being approved of. She sees how giving her heart to the wrong man carved pieces out of her she'll never offer so easily again. When she rebuilds, she doesn't become hard, she becomes selective. Her softness stays, but it sits behind a clarity she earned through pain. Her kindness remains, but it's no longer free to everyone who smiles the right way. She starts seeing through words, through charm, through promises, through the little performances people use when they want something without giving anything real in return. And that's when men begin to sense the difference. They feel it in the way she listens, not to believe, but to understand. They feel it in the way she smiles without surrendering. They feel it in the way their old tricks fall flat. She becomes the kind of woman a man can't fool, and whether he admits it or not, that's exactly when fear shows up in his eyes. Number 2. How pain rewires a mind and changes what she trusts. When a woman rebuilds herself the way she did in that last part, slow, intentional, almost surgical, there's always something deeper happening underneath the surface. It's not just her behavior that changes, it's the wiring of her mind itself. Most people don't realize heartbreak does that. They think it's just emotional, but it isn't. That kind of pain reaches into the brain and rearranges things quietly, like someone moving furniture in the dark. Years ago, some researchers at Stanford studied people who went through real emotional trauma, breakups, betrayals, the kind of losses that feel like the floor collapsing beneath you. And what they found was simple. The mind begins to protect itself in ways nobody chooses. The parts built for trust and empathy dim down because survival demands it. The brain learns that kindness can be dangerous, that openness can lead to harm, and it shifts from connection to caution without asking for permission. That's why women who've been through divorce seem different in ways the world can't always explain. Trust doesn't come naturally anymore. It turns into vigilance. Empathy sharpens into analysis. Love stops being blind and becomes logic. It isn't healing in the usual sense, it's adaptive recalibration. Her mind isn't trying to return her to who she was before. It's building someone new, someone who can survive what she didn't survive the first time. So she starts listening for truth beneath tone, timing, and the little inconsistencies most people overlook. She begins to feel less but understand more. Naivety fades into calm. Hope turns into observation. And when the mirror of her old heart finally shatters, she doesn't lose herself, she multiplies. Each fragment becomes a new form of awareness, a sharper way of reading people. Pain becomes data, tears become memory, and before she even realizes it, her heart becomes a kind of laboratory, built not out of bitterness, but out of everything she had to learn just to make sure she never bleeds the same way again. And if this truth hit you somewhere deep, brother, take a moment to do me a small favor. Hit like, subscribe, and share this message. Your simple action can help more people who are struggling with this issue find the content they need. Thank you for being a part of this. Number 3. Her new silence is made of data, not bitterness. By the time her mind finishes rewiring itself the way we talked about earlier, the first thing that rises inside her isn't strength, it's silence. A heavy, unfamiliar quiet that settles into her chest like fog. At the beginning, that silence feels unbearable. It presses against her ribs at night, turning the hours into long stretches she can't fill. She cries, not out of weakness, but because she has no idea what to do with the emptiness divorce left behind. The house sounds different now. It isn't just missing him, it's missing the woman she used to be around him. That version of herself, the one who filled the space with hope and effort, disappeared the moment she realized she was the only one fighting to keep a world alive. But as the days pass, something shifts. The crying slows. The nights start to stretch out without tears. And then one morning she wakes up with dry eyes, not because the pain has faded, but because something inside her has settled into a deeper, colder stillness. She realizes she isn't waiting anymore. Not for his apology. Not for closure. Not for the echo of a love that was never built to last. The waiting dies quietly inside her, and with its death comes a strange, steady kind of clarity. She tries slipping back into who she used to be, but that old self doesn't fit anymore. It feels like trying to return to a home that no longer exists. Every time she reaches for connection, she feels a hesitation, a pause she never had before. She begins to notice things she once brushed aside. The way people speak when they want something, the quick shifts in their eyes when truth gets too close, the small cracks in their stories that reveal more than they intend. Slowly, almost without deciding to, she shifts from feeling to watching, from believing to listening. Distance stops being a choice and becomes a natural consequence of a mind rebuilt for survival. Emotion turns into calculation. Calculation turns into safety. Her eyes stop looking for affection and start reading intention. She sees the machinery behind every smile, every compliment meant to soften her guard, every sudden wave of kindness that appears at convenient moments. She learns that people show their motives long before they show their mistakes, and once she begins seeing those patterns, she can't unsee them. Men pick up on the change long before they understand it. They call her cold, mysterious, hard to read. But what unsettles them isn't the coolness in her voice or the distance in her stare. It's the loss of emotional leverage. They can't pull her into arguments. They can't provoke the old reactions. She doesn't fall for apologies wrapped in charm or promises tied together with hope. She doesn't mistake performance for sincerity. She sees endings before beginnings fully form, and she trusts that sight now. And in that quiet, in that steady precision, she becomes someone they can no longer influence, no matter what they say, what they do, or what they try to resurrect. Her silence is not a wound anymore. It's a shield made of everything she learned the hard way. Number 4. When she stops needing their approval, everything changes. By the time she grows comfortable inside that new silence, the one shaped by observation instead of pain, something inside her quietly snaps into place. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't flare up like anger or collapse like heartbreak. It just settles, steady and undeniable. It's the moment her mind breaks free. Psychology calls it cognitive emancipation, but to a man who's watched this happen before, it's simpler than that. It's the moment she stops needing anyone to choose her. Divorce didn't just end the relationship, it ended the version of her who measured her worth by how he looked at her. For years, her emotional rhythm moved around him. His moods told her when to speak, his attention told her when she mattered, his validation built the walls of her self-esteem. When that entire system crashed, she thought she was losing herself. But the truth is, she was finally walking back into her own life. And the world didn't fall apart without his approval. If anything, it got clearer. It slowed down. It softened in a way that felt honest. She stopped handing out her attention like it was free. She stopped letting every emotional tug drag her back into the woman she used to be. She stopped confusing desire with dependency. And that kind of control, the quiet, grounded kind, always unsettles men who relied on her neediness to feel strong. Dependency was the lever they leaned on. Approval was the chain. Once she no longer needed love to feel whole, the whole structure they built their confidence on collapsed without a sound. But the real shift happens in how she starts to see people. She notices how compliments can be bait, how promises can tighten around her like invisible cages, how affection can be weaponized as a reward for obedience. She doesn't fall for it anymore. Her perception sharpens. She measures people by their consistency, not their charm. Her emotions stop running the show. They answer to her now, calmly, clearly, without panic. She gives her energy slowly, with intention. And when she pulls away, she does it cleanly, without guilt, without the old shaking in her chest. That's when she becomes something most men don't know how to face. A woman fully centered, self-contained, untouched by the need to be chosen. A woman whose peace cannot be bought, bargained, stolen, or shaken. A woman they can no longer control. And brother, that's when fear shows up in their eyes, whether they admit it or not. Number 5. When she stops explaining, she stops giving him access. Once she no longer needs a man's approval the way she used to, another shift rises quietly behind her ribs. Subtle at first, almost invisible, but powerful enough to change the balance between them forever. Because a woman who no longer needs validation eventually stops explaining herself too. And that's the part most men never expect. They don't realize how much access they had through her explanations. Every clarification, every defense, every attempt to be understood. A man will never admit it, but he fears two things more than anything: being seen for who he really is and becoming irrelevant. After the divorce, she becomes both. She becomes the mirror he spent years avoiding, and she becomes the silence that no longer carries his weight. She doesn't argue anymore. She doesn't defend her side. She doesn't chase understanding. She steps back, and the space she leaves behind becomes a truth he can't negotiate. Silence isn't surrender. Silence is the moment she cuts the last thread that tied him to her. As she pulls inward, her vision sharpens. She starts observing instead of reacting. She sees the familiar tactics behind his excuses, the charm he used to soften his failures, the guilt he leaned on when charm slipped, the sudden warmth that always followed cruelty. Those things once hit the softest parts of her. Now they only expose him. For the first time, she understands she was never the problem. Her strength no longer comes from emotion, but from existence itself. Steady, grounded, impossible to shake loose. She no longer waits for love to give her meaning. She builds meaning one choice at a time, and every choice pulls her further from the girl she used to be. Men feel this shift long before they can name it. They sense she doesn't need them. Not to feel seen, not to feel safe, not to feel real. She might still desire someone, but dependency is gone. And without dependency, manipulation has nowhere to enter. She becomes sovereign, self-contained, a closed system with no loose wires for anyone to pull. She chooses who earns her presence. She sets boundaries without apology. And when she walks away now, she doesn't look back. Not out of pride, but because she knows there's nothing behind her worth reaching for. She doesn't need closure. She is the closure. By the time she reaches this last stretch of her journey, everything about her has shifted into a quieter kind of power. A man fears two things he'll never say out loud: being exposed and being forgotten. After divorce, she becomes both. She reflects his weakness without using a single word, and she walks forward without carrying his shadow. She doesn't want revenge or validation. She simply stops giving energy to the world he built around himself. Before, she would have fought to explain her side. Now she says nothing. Seeing is enough. Her silence becomes a mirror he can't twist. She no longer bends to protect his ego or softens truth just to make him feel bigger. She stands steady, and that steadiness is what rattles men who depended on her softness to hold themselves together. She becomes self-sufficient in a way no one can touch. Guilt, charm, fear. Those doors are closed. Manipulation needs access, and she no longer offers any. She learned how affection can be used as leverage, how promises can be cages, how love can become a stage for ego. So she steps off that stage for good. Her silence carries weight. Her absence carries truth. She moves through the world with a peace born from loss, not bitterness, but understanding. She knows why people lie, how they love, how they leave, and she holds that knowledge with clarity instead of pain. In the end, she doesn't just survive the divorce, she transforms. She becomes the mirror that reveals truth and the silence that refuses illusion. She doesn't chase, she doesn't explain. She simply stands in her own awareness. And once a woman reaches that level of quiet freedom, nothing can be taken from her again. And brother, that's what every man fears. Thank you for being here, brother. Every word we share here is a reminder that calm doesn't mean weak, and silence doesn't mean lost. If this resonated with you, stay a while, reflect, listen, let it settle. We're building something real, a quiet brotherhood built on truth, not noise. See you in the next video, where we keep walking this path together.